preparing to live stream the meeting.
I think you're live, bud. Why do you keep getting dark, TJ?
Preparing to live stream the meeting. Oh, hang on. What just happened?
I think you're live, bud.
Are you on? Where am I at? There I am. Hey, we are live. It always kicks me. It kicks me over to YouTube, and I was like watching myself on YouTube. And hang on a second here, yeah, because I gotta. You on? Hang on. See, now it's playing. There I am. Hey. Nope. There we go. Got it. What's going on, gang? Hey, listen. We got a good show for you today. We brought Will on, and we were kind of cruising already. Had a couple topics in place and stuff, but we wanted to stop. Pivot. You know what I mean? I always talk about that freight, right? You fly around, right? You play football, didn't you, Will?
Did lots of
right. What coach always say? Fly to the ball, right? Break down.
Yep.
That's what we're doing right now. So we're gonna get to know Will a little bit better. Everybody knows Tony probably too much, so we're gonna give you a break on him. But yeah. So Will, give us a little background on how you started, how you got in the industry. I know Andrew Silver. Decent. Well, I got to know him out in Vegas too. Good dude. I know you know him real well. What you guys are, what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're looking to do.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick synopsis of my background and how I got into freight. It's kind of a funny story, so there'll be some good things to talk about. And I think I might have talked about it a little bit the first time I was on. But you mentioned earlier I played football in college. I went to Illinois Wesleyan University, played football there. I went there initially because I thought I wanted to study medicine. I was kind of a nerd in high school and college, so that's what I thought I wanted to do. And I ended up getting into sales very early on and realized that I enjoyed sales, enjoyed working with people, and that's what got me going entrepreneurially. So for anyone that's ever heard of it, I used to sell Cutco kitchen cutlery, which is really, really good, high quality kitchen cutlery throughout college, and that got me going with wanting to be in sales. And did that 4 years in college. I used to work with Kimberly-Clark Professional, which is a company that makes Kleenex. So it was my first job out of college, really good corporate sales job. It taught me a lot about high level sales, closing. I was in a suit and tie in Atlanta and in Chicago, closing deals and stuff right out of school. And then I left KC and had a couple of really good friends that worked at another large brokerage. And we were really good friends back in the day. And I was, looking for something new to do. I'm pretty competitive, very, very, very ambitious. And it's one of the things I like about freight brokerage. It's very much so a blue collar industry. So if you're willing to roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty, it can be very fruitful. And I'm no stranger to doing that. And so I got in on the carrier sales side. I did that for about 2 years, really, really enjoyed it. Transitioned from a carrier sales role to manage a group of customer facing sales reps. So most of my experience before I started in freight brokerage was longer term sales cycles. So 6 to 12 months working on larger opportunities. But before I got into freight, I didn't know anything about the industry. I was completely green. I just knew how to sell. So I figured it would make sense to spend a couple of years just learning from the ground level. And I'm really, really happy that I did that because those first 2 years taught me, if I'm sitting across the table from a shipper, what do I need to talk to them about to convey that I know how freight moves, right? So spending time selling as a carrier sales rep really, really gave me that strong base. I managed a group of sales reps for about a year, and I left that opportunity to become a director at another business, spent about 6 months there helping to build out their business development team. And then as you mentioned, I know Andrew very well. So he and I used to play like intramural sports together. When we first worked together, it was a lot of fun. Did a lot of different sales things together when I was at Coyote. And, like I said, I've known him for a long time. Had the opportunity when I exited the previous company I was working with to, think about starting a freight brokerage like MoLo and what would the idea be like if we were to build something like what we have today. And, I was extremely excited about being able to do something like that. And, here we are 4 years later. Most of my experience so far has been really, really across the board. So like I mentioned before, carrier sales type stuff. I've done a lot of operational things, a fair amount of training and development. So that was my big piece that I worked on when we first started the business was training and development. I spent the first 2 years building out our really entry-level carrier sales training program to get everybody up and running and acclimated with the business. And now I spend most of my time with some of our larger, higher level shippers and sales reps doing stuff like that. So tons of different experience. It's been a lot of fun. But like I said in the beginning, one of the reasons why I love the industry is that it rewards you for the work that you do. And being a lifelong athlete and someone that enjoys very much so like a team style environment, that's what I like about freight and transportation. And also I love to see people grow and develop. So you'll hear me talk about it a lot. I've got great relationships with people that have helped me grow and develop in my career. And I like to pay that stuff forward and meet people that have the drive and a desire to want to grow and develop. And if I can be influential in that, I want to do it as much as possible. So that's one of the cool things about being in the brokers that we have right now is, we've got close to 400 people now, and having the opportunity to influence them positively and help them grow and get to where they want to be, like that stuff just makes me really happy. So.
Yep. No, I hear you there. Especially the kind of the giving back thing. I mean, like I'm kind of the same way. So, I want to, like, when you look at sports, I wanted to come on the field and, hit somebody hard, right? I played safety, with Ball State and everything. I wanted to come on and hit somebody and have that be seen and have people, kind of look to me then more as a leader, right? Like the effort I put in, like what I did, meant something, right? Kind of showed who I was, kind of showed my work ethic. I wanted to be the first one on the field, last one off. I wanted to do that type of thing because it meant something, right? It meant playing time. It meant not just getting better, but, gaining the respect of your teammates, gaining more opportunities. And that is one thing about freight. My degree was in sports medicine and athletic training. Ended up doing it at Ball State. And, I looked at kind of what made me good and what actually got me, it's a tough program to get into. It was like 100 people, 120 people applied, like they got 12 in. And, a lot of it came down to grades. I was a B+, A- guy. But, I was, slick, I was street smarts and stuff. But, I put on there that, I think, being able to talk to athletes was a big thing, right? So people want to hold back what injuries they have, being able to like relate with them and talk to them about them. And that they said that essay that I wrote kind of got me in. It kind of made me think that's what made me good at it. And so when I got out, the job market wasn't great and I got into sales and I realized that like what I was able to use that made me good at athletic training, when you run on the field, right, you don't know what you're going to come up to, right? You got to make a quick decision. You think critically. Again, you got to be able to talk to people, relate to people, control a situation, right? Make sure people are calm, understand things. It all translates into freight. I've seen a lot of people come out of the restaurant business that have been great at freight. There's just certain things.
So many reps like that. It's just like you said, being able to think on your feet and adapt to situations. It's so much so the case.
And it's, and be able to handle stress, right? Stressful situations. Some people like them, some people don't. Some people thrive on them. I always found myself, I never really understood, but like I made more 3-pointers like in basketball, say, when I was like falling away or like running from the side or like jumping. But how many people do you see miss those wide open? When you see somebody like let them out and they're wide open, they end up missing.
Right.
Like sometimes you thrive on the harder things and the harder situations and in freight, you can go find those. I mean, if you want to, like every day you come in, you can go find something that's messed up. And I found right off the beginning, I came in, I was cocky, I was a sales guy, came from finance and sales like that, did well. And I got put right in with dispatch, right? And I was young. And you get on the truck side, you get older people, right? The old ops managers, the old dispatchers, you got a certain way of doing things. And they didn't like that, the young cocky guy coming in thinking he knew what he was doing, right? The guy that would snicker when somebody said we got a hot load, right? I was just getting used to the terminology, So, but what I found was I was able to think quick and without even knowing it, they would have something going and I'd be like, well, why don't you just do this? We just have Bill go drop the trailer here. He can, Roger's coming that way anyways. He can grab that. He can recover, grab an empty, go pick that up and we're good to go. And they're like, oh yeah. Well, then as soon as I started doing that type of thing and jumping in and helping and solving problems, and becoming a value from that standpoint, all of a sudden I saw them like start to respect me more. Like, wow, TJ really, you're doing a good job, or this is it, thanks for helping. And I started to see that like respect kind of because I was able to jump in and help and solve problems. It's so important in this industry. You can be as cocky as you want, but unless you're willing to to jump in and really like analyze what's going on and think ahead and do it. But it comes, again, it comes down to your background. But no, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a great point that you brought up, though, you know, that coming from being an athlete to, you know, into carrier sales is, you know, I see a lot of people that come in, grind it out. I was able to go through the same thing, and, you know, as we grew, develop the carrier sales team, develop the account management team, and we just keep restructuring and doing different things. And it's a fun ride. You know, I meet people like Tony.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about being comfortable with doing whatever the business throws at you and allowing that to help you grow and progress through your career. Like, I've met so many people in our business today that we might not have had the right fit or right role for them when they started, but they were very good hires, right? Sharp people, willing to get their hands dirty, you know, wanted to do whatever they could to help. And now they are leaders within our business, but they might have started out doing carrier sales and like maybe they weren't great at it, right? But they were willing to do that to develop and find a way to get better until they found a place that was actually their home, right? Now those people are thriving. So kind of like you talked about, being willing to just step up and help people where they need it, that kind of goes a long way if you want to be able to help see yourself thrive, because you never know what pieces that you take from that role that are going to translate to what you do next. And I mean, Tony, I can only imagine that probably happens in almost every scenario, you know, what you're doing, because as you get more experience with different situations, those things translate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I came up way different than you guys. I dropped out of college because we had a small trucking company and we were running that, and I was in an entrepreneurial program at Purdue, and I thought to myself, man, what am I going to do? Give myself a raise? You know, I keep all the money anyways. I ended up taking the 15-year college plan, but in the meantime, I was driving, and then I ended up with a CDL, and next thing you know, I thought, my goodness, I've done the other side. I'd like to get back into that. So I ended up working my way up, thinking to myself that there's more there than just being a driver for me. There's nothing wrong with just being a driver, but in my mind, I wanted to be, because I had been on the other side. I watched my dad do it, and I wanted to do the other. It drew me to the other side. He had a wood shop when I was a kid, and we had horses, and I wanted to be on the other side and helping build the loads. And unintentionally, it kind of chose me, but here I am, and I love it.
And that's kind of the key, you know, being able to, once you get into the industry, it's weird because there are different directions you can go, right? You get in thinking you're going to do one thing and find your strength. And so I remember when we really first started like pushing hiring, probably 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, it was a real big push. You know, Fort Wayne, Indiana doesn't have the most logistics talent, right? Just from the standpoint of, you know, the amount of companies that are here. And, you know, it was always a big trucking hub. That was one big thing. So one of our owners, Eric Fortmeyer, his grandparents owned the original Fortmeyer truck stops in Fort Wayne, right? It's a pilot and whatever. I mean, we're the same distance from Detroit, Chicago, Indy, Cleveland, Toledo, Columbus. I mean, we're right there. And so they had originally started with trucking companies, and we started with trucks, right? But, you know, as we started growing the brokerage and really growing, we were bringing people in, but we were bringing them in like specifically like carrier sales rep, account manager, you know, this and that. And what you'd find is that they come in as an account manager, and it would take, you know, 2 months, 3 months or whatever, sometimes even like them failing and not doing well and then getting down themselves, maybe even leaving, whatever it is, before we may recognize their, you know, because we were growing fast, right? So we may recognize their strengths. So I kind of went to our recruiter. I'm like, hey, just put out operational specialists, like, you know, just, you know, something operations specialist, right? That way, and I would sit down in interviews and describe it to them. Like, hey, we're going to bring you in a carrier sales role, right? But I want you to know all the different other roles there are, all right? There's sales, there's account manager, there's track tracer, all different things you can do. And, you know, what we do is we kind of, you know, I want to get some feedback from you, you know, meet every month and just kind of see where you're going to gravitate to your strength, right? Like, if you're a carrier sales rep and, you know, you're really good at, say, something that maybe an account manager does, you'll find that they kind of do that a little bit, right? Whether it's in a different area or whatever it is, and you can see them gravitate to that, and they'll start asking questions about accounts, right? They'll start asking questions about loads and bidding and things like that. And so as long as you've got your eyes open to that, you can allocate those people. You know, Trey Griggs always said like and I think he read it in the book probably because he's not that smart, but he said you got to get the right people on the bus, right? But then you got to get the people in the right seats on the bus, right?
That's from good to great.
Yeah, I'd say I knew it wasn't Trey, but he had mentioned that. But it's very true because you get the right people on the bus. You can't just sit back and relax and hope they make it, right? It's always like, you know, Tony went from hauling horses to you know, signing BOLs, right? It's a little different.
Yeah. So like, I want to get a closer look at some of the background with you, Will. What are your plans in the future? Like, where do you see this going? I mean, is it just to grow, or what are your personal goals?
So I would say that when I look at things that I want to do and stuff that matters to me, I care a lot about being able to help other people grow and develop. And if you were to ask me what drives me the most, that thing is what gets me up and gets me excited more than anything else in the world, because I feel like I've been given a lot of opportunities to thrive in my career. And I wouldn't be where I am today if there weren't people that were willing to invest in me and give back and coach and mentor me, right? So when I look at what we're doing in our business today, any opportunity I get a chance to spend one-on-one time, whether it's with someone on my team or a new hire or someone that just needs a hand with something, I want to do that because that might be the thing that allows that person to grow and take the next step, or gives them that, you know, little piece of energy that allows them to persist through a challenging day. And I think about all the times where I had ups and downs in my sales career, and someone, whether it was a coach or a mentor or a manager that I had, lifted me up. They believed in me, and I know that I wouldn't be where I am today without it. When I look at our business as a whole, I think that we are on the cusp of doing some uh, amazing things that people haven't seen in this industry, with the way that we've been able to grow and the way that we've been able to onboard new customers and continue to scale our business. I think that the sky is the limit in terms of our growth potential, and we've got the right group of people together to be able to continue to do it. We just got an amazing award from Anheuser-Busch, you know, highlighting some of the success that we had in 2020, a Carrier of the Year award. And you think about how challenging 2020 was, being able to step up for a shipper like that, it says a lot about the way our brand, you know, steps up and services, you know, what a shipper needs. But personally, man, like you see me like light up about it now. I just love helping people. And so I have a team meeting with my group every night at like 4:30. So we have them in the morning at 8 a.m. and at 4:30, right? Because for me, one thing that's unique about freight brokerage is the camaraderie. And if you can build the right type of camaraderie, people will work very hard and really be dedicated and committed to what you're doing. And this is a tough industry. Like you all know it. It's nothing about what we do is easy. But if you build the right environment, you can support people to do that right. One thing I was concerned about when we went remote was that culture and that camaraderie piece. Like, how do you keep people together? We're all working from home and I see people through my screen. And so, you know, you've got people that haven't met in person for a year now. That is really challenging to be able to keep people together. So I do a team Zoom in the morning and at night just to like shoot the shit with people, right? Sometimes we're talking freight and like, hey, how was your day? What new opportunities do you have? Blah, blah, blah. Some days we invite another team on there and we're just like going back and forth, trying to create the environment that we would have had if we were in the office. But to bring it full circle, I've got two reps that I work really closely with, one of which that wanted to buy a condo, another one was working on saving a particular amount of money so that he could go do a handful of things for his family. And I remember this time last year, them telling me those goals, right? Like, I want to buy a condo. This is what I want to do. And one of my reps just bought a condo. The other one saved enough money to do what he wanted to do for his family. And I'm like, I don't give a shit about anything else, right? Nothing else matters to me except for the fact that I know I got an opportunity to work with you very closely on those things, and you got a chance to achieve them. And now we can take the next step in your career, whatever it is that you want to do, because you did those things. And that was a reflection of the work that you did here. You're also crushing it here, but outside of life, right? You're very happy. You're very whole. You feel like you're doing the right things to be able to grow and progress. And so if you ask me about like personal aspirations, man, like I just love giving back and helping people. It just makes me really happy. And I think that that's what engages me in most of what I do.
Man, that's awesome. I know, like, you know, being a leader of people is tough because people have baggage, right? We all have our issues and problems, but you know, the work itself can be easy. The work itself can be tough, but leading people is really tough. because you have to take a team of people and everybody's got their own different baggage things, self included. And if you're in charge of leading them, man, you can be put in charge of them and not lead them. You know, there's always a natural leader who's going to take control and lead with or without you. But if you're tasked with leading a team and growing a team, especially in this climate, is the probably more relevant topic to talk about. But it's one of the hardest things you can do if you're not building into them and growing them and providing a place for them to grow. You're going to be constantly putting people in that team. You know, we had a guy, the place I work now has this like a dream achiever program where they'll life coach you into, you know, personal stuff, not even business. It's just like, this guy wanted to buy his own truck and we helped him leave. But I mean, he applied for the program and I told him, I said, dude, stick around and go through this program. We'll get you in there and we'll help you get to that end. You know, I'll tell you the pitfalls of what it's like to own a truck and how, and the pluses and minuses of what it is to go out and buy and be a one truck outfit and put all your eggs in that one basket. And what if somebody doesn't pay you? And what, you know, all of these things. And the program is so wildly popular that there was a wait for him to get in and he just couldn't hold back anymore. And he came to me and a couple other guys and we had talked to him about our experiences and being owner ops and running a business and doing all of those other things that you have to do besides just driving a truck with your name on the door. And, you know, he left and he went and did that, and good for him. We were able to help him do that. But, you know, now it's always a challenge to bring more people into that culture and to bring them in. And I always tell people whenever I'm trying to hire somebody, I look at the team and I see an average, whatever that baseline average is where everybody is. I don't ever want to bring anybody in that's below that line. I always try to bring somebody in that's above it to raise the bar. And I tell every interviewee that I talk to that I already have that guy who maybe talks too much at the water cooler or whatever the case may be. I'm bringing you in because I want to raise the bar. You're the guy that's going to come in here and bring them to your level, not you to their level. So I try to empower people. We're very siloed and I have leads that run different areas. And my whole job is to make them good at theirs.
Yeah.
Remove their roadblocks and let them go do what they do well and efficiently.
I think about something that you said around, you know, essentially investing in people and giving back for them and doing things to help them grow and thrive. And there was a quote I read so long ago, and it said, an employer once said, what if you train people and they leave? And then the second half of it is, what if you don't train them and they stay? And I'm the kind of person that will fight tooth and nail to say, I don't care too much about technology. And I say this with a caveat, right? I think technology enables your people to do more than they would be able to do if you didn't have it, right? It should lift them up and make their jobs easier and more efficient. But if you invest in your people, they create the experience that you perpetuate in the market, regardless of what business you have, whether it's transportation or whether it is an airline or a restaurant. You think about the experience that was created by the people there that did it for you. And I think about that in every interaction I have with our people or with someone I'm working with, saying, okay, how do I make sure that they leave this experience with me and they are better off for it, right? They have a better impression of me. They feel better about what they're supposed to be doing, right? They're more confident in what they do. And a lot of that has to do with coaching and mentoring and training, so that you lift those people up and they go, gosh, I've never been at a place where they did this much for me because they wanted to see me succeed. Because our success is their success. And you can be so short-sighted and say, oh, we don't have enough time, right? I don't have enough time to train you, right? You just got to figure it out. Or I don't have enough time to do this. Like, you do have enough time, even when you don't. I don't care what increments it's in or, you know, what time frame you got to set up to be able to do it. If you invest in your people, they're going to create a better brand for your shippers, your carriers, or whatever experience you're creating, whether it's transportation or not. And if you're willing to do that, people give you more than they ever would if you didn't do that. So that's something that I'm like extremely passionate about, is just being able to slow down and say, what are you doing to help your people grow and thrive?
Yeah. And I'm constantly like sharing, you know, like what I've went through, like what I've done or what I've seen, or a lot of it is because, you know, I mean, I think MoLo's about the same, you know, circle I see, like, you know, just growth wise and where it's at. And, you know, just a lot of it was because it was hard. Like, it was tough, man. It was like, you know, I mean, I stumbled through a lot. Like, we didn't have, you know, when I first started, like I say it all the time, there was 10 of us in a room slinging freight. I mean, it was it was unbelievable. Like I mean, there wasn't any like titles or leaders or anything. It was just like whoever was going to step up, and we knew who was doing what. But it was and it was wild, wild west. But no HR. You know what I mean? Like we were booking freight, man. It was so we struggled. We ran through a lot, and we learned along the way. And so trying to teach them that stuff, but still empower them too, because I want them to know that, like, hey, what made me good was the fact that I was able to come up with an idea. I wasn't a spoke in the wheel, man. Like if I came up with an idea, I could walk right into one of my owner's offices and run it by him. And if it was good enough, like I wasn't going to go in there with a bad one. 9 times out of 10, we put together a plan and implement. And I try to push that to them, like, hey, it's still the same. Like I want to hear everything you got. Like you got an idea, you got something that you feel could work better, or something you want to do. Let's sit down and talk about it. You know what I mean? Let's come up with something. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I feel like we've come up with some stuff here at Circle that has been, very successful. And it's because you look at how a lot of brokerages do it, and a lot of places out there, like they kind of just do what everybody else is doing. When you come in, and you're newer, you kind of feel like there's really nothing new I can do, right? There's nothing, like everything's already kind of there. Like I'll just work here and there. But like when you give them that idea that, hey, your ideas matter, like what you say, what you do, things that you feel work matter. Because like I want them to understand that like everybody's different. So I always want people to understand like what my viewpoint is. My viewpoint's harder because I got people that learn differently, right? People that work differently. And so when you give me feedback, I know how you learn and work. That helps me understand that, and now push that towards other people that are like you, right, or learn like you, or work like you, right? And so it gives me that better perspective, but it also gives you the opportunity to say, hey, this is how I've been doing things. I always tell people, it's like, you do a certain thing, we have no a problem with building a team around you. You know what I mean? Like if you got a certain way in which to do things, and you feel like this works, and whether it's counts that are similar, whether it's people that are similar, whether it's a niche or a mode, whatever it is. I mean, like I talk to people all the time, like the $300 million that we do in a year. I think it's more than that now. Probably, I don't even know. I've looked at the numbers, but like when we hit that milestone, right, was like quite a bit of dry van. I mean, you know what I mean? There was flatbed in there, and we do a lot of expedites, but like there's so many different niches you can get into. Like you come in and you really get interested in hazmat. You know what I mean? You really get interested in. You want to learn, and you want to go like learn and create something there. Like go do it. You know what I mean? Like we'll put a whole team around you. You know what I mean? We've got the accounts, they've got the stuff. So that, I think, just giving them that idea of, hey, like what Tony said, right? Like you can come in and raise the bar if you want. Don't come in and try to catch up. Come in and raise the bar. I think that's key.
I agree. I think, one thing that you mentioned that's super important is empowering people, and knowing that, letting them know that they can come in and come up with ideas and bring things to the table, because that's how you innovate, and that's how you keep your company fresh and dynamic. And one thing I think that's extremely important with the way our business has developed and stuff that we've done is that everyone that's a part of what we do understands that they can contribute, and we've empowered them to own their roles and empowered them to want to contribute and not think, oh gosh, I'm just a new hire, right? Or I'm just whatever role it might be. We've had interns. I remember 2 years ago running our internship program, we've had interns that have come in and helped contribute to the way we train every new employee, because they learn differently. And that is in line with a whole different generation of people that we're hiring that retain information different than I do. And how can we cater what we do to make sure that they actually are absorbing this information, because that's going to change the trajectory of our training classes, and they're going to be better off for it. But you get that from a recent college grad or a kid that's in college, and they say, hey, why don't you try this? And we're like, absolutely, that's a great idea. It completely changes things. So a lot of that to me is creating the right environment where people want to contribute, and they know that they're going to have the opportunity to be listened to, because there are so many good ideas that could be stifled because people don't think that they're going to be listened to, or maybe they brought good ideas to the table and they keep getting put out because no one has an ear to listen to it. You want to create that environment where people know that we believe in you, and if you have something that you think is helpful, bring it to the table. I think that creates a which we'll talk about more and more, a more developed culture where people want to be able to contribute like that.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that, Tony. Some guy reached out for Zoom because I upgraded or whatever. He reached out to me. So I'm gonna give him a call here real quick. What? It tried to say we had 10 minutes left again, which I don't know. So
I didn't want to get cut off again and miss out on Kyle.
Yeah.
what do you? Because like Tony, like we talked about how where we're at, like how you can come in and kind of choose where you go and empower people. A lot of manufacturing set roles, right?
Oh yeah.
Paid is dependent on it. So how do you balance that?
Well, I mean, you hire somebody into a role and you tell them that your job description is, you always have that bullet point in the bottom or anything else we need you to do. And I have people that are happy driving a forklift. That's all they want to do. They don't want to be left alone. They don't want any more responsibility. They don't want to email. They don't want the pressure. They don't want any of that other stuff. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that because we always need guys that just want to come to work and drive the forklift. But I have people on forklifts that want to learn how to ship the product and they want to learn how to build the loads. They want to learn how to contact sales and say, and ask the questions that they need to ask from sales. So we take people on slow days or afternoons or when we have enough staffing to be in the right spot where we'll bring people in and mentor them and train them, and we'll cross train everybody into anything they want to learn because we want them to learn that. And then like today I had a guy who had a doctor's appointment, had to leave. Busiest part of the day, he's moving about 35% of our product. So we just shuffle the deck. We got people backfilling everywhere. I park a truck and put a guy on a forklift that used to be in a truck, and the guy that was normally on that forklift is in the office, and the guy in that office is in another office, and we just backfilled and fill it in. Everybody's ready to go. We just train them up, cross train everybody, let them learn everything, and then you can have an excuse to pay them more. They're more engaged. There's growth and potential for them in the future. And then when people move on or move away or circumstances change, and you're batter up, man, next man in.
I think you made some great points there, Tony, around cross training and coaching people up, because there's a lot of value that you create for someone in their career when you give them access or exposure to different things that they may not have had exposure to in their standard role. And I think that makes them more valuable, not just for your organization, but for whatever else they might do in the future. And if we're going to be real and transparent about it, not everybody is a lifer at the company that they're at, right? They might be in your business as a phase, and hopefully they get the most out of it and they give, fantastic work for the time being that they're there. But you want them to exit your business and go, gosh, like Tony was the best manager I ever had. He had my back, taught me a lot of good things. I've got skills that I can transition to my next role, and they have nothing but good things to say about you and your business. And that helps you because they're going to talk, and people, it's a small world, right? They're going to talk about the experience, talk about what it was like at your business. And if they have positive things to say, that's going to do nothing but help you. So I love that perspective of saying, I want to cross train people. I want to have an excuse to pay people more money. I want to make them more valuable, because that's how you help people out in their careers. And most of the time they end up staying with you longer because like what you're doing, right? So they're like, what is Tony going to give me exposure to next? Because they're not going to get that everywhere. It's very unique to you and how you're creating that environment.
It absolutely is. I have a forklift driver who's a single mom, and man, she's a killer. She's one of the best there is, but one of the best forklift drivers I've ever been around. And I've been around in manufacturing for 25 years, and she just wants more. So we're going to train her. We're going to get her up there, and who knows what earning potential that'll unlock once she's able to do both sides of the desk. And hey, I can load a truck. She was talking about getting her CDL, and I'm trying to calm down. You don't need to go jump in the truck and deliver it too. We got a bunch of people that just want to do that, so they're all right. We're good there. But man, if you can take somebody who knows one end of the business and then can learn the other end of the business and put that together, and you've made a more complete employee, first of all, who's way more valuable. They're more engaged. They're likely to stay longer. And who knows, you may have unlocked a skill in somebody that you overlooked and didn't see yourself, that maybe you find a diamond in the coal. You might just find somebody who's better than anybody you got in there. Who knows?
Totally. I have a question for you, Tony, and we might have to pop to a different link if this one expires in like 4 minutes or whatever, but we'll figure it out. When you think about career coaching and development, you've kind of alluded to it in the things that you're talking about with cross training and finding things in people that they might want to bring out. What are the best things that you've seen in organizations, whether they're yours or others, where you say, gosh, that's a good process to help people develop in their careers, whether it be training or just career development type stuff?
Man, I'll tell you what, tracking it is really tough because people come and go, and it's hard, especially in manufacturing where you have a role that is set and defined and you need somebody in that role, whether it's Saturday afternoon and the plant's running, or if it's Monday morning and the plant's running. And it's really hard to pull somebody out of that role to train them. So you have to have your staffing game on point. You have to have enough people that already know how to do a variety of different things to be able. I mean, it takes a long time just to get to the point where you can take somebody out of a forklift and stop it. And then you have to understand, you have to be in a culture and a mindset where at the company you're at that values training and building into people enough to park a forklift during the middle of a production day and have an asset that you're paying for sit still while you invest in that employee. So, I mean, tracking that is one thing. Being in an environment that allows that, encourages that, or even funds it in some aspects. You know, where I'm at now, we have a whole team of people who are dedicated to leaders. I meet with a coach once a week. We have leadership development from the top down. We do all kinds of really cool leadership stuff. There's podcasts, and they just building people into better leaders is what they do. Business can be a force for good, and I love that motto. And the fact that I get to cross train people is it's a direct result of the company being in a place where they want us to cross train people. They want us to grow our people. They want us to be better. And, you know, having that opportunity to make people better and give them the opportunity. A lot of times in manufacturing, there's just not enough time to make someone better. You can't invest in the training, and it's just not a viable solution. If you're big enough, you can probably absorb some of that and grow those people, but it takes a commitment to that from the top.
I couldn't agree more. I think about where we are now and the amount of time that we invest in training people across the board and how that's developed over the last 4 years. I remember running training very early on, and the training deck was like 4 slides, right? It's like, this is a truck. And then this is what a BOL is. And we're talking all the different, you know, freight lingo and getting people up to speed. And they were either going into one or two roles. You're doing carrier sales, or you're probably going to do customer operations, right? We've got like 12 people. So you either need someone that's like slinging the freight or someone that's going to help us build and develop those relationships with customers. And so I think about that process developing to where I remember our first, you know, 4 to 10 person training class. This is probably like March of 2018. So you've got 4 or 5 different people coming. 2 of them are doing carrier sales, 2 are doing operations, maybe one's doing business development. And now you need a comprehensive training program. But like you said, you have to be willing to invest and stop and say, if we don't do this now, you're never going to get a good view of what it looks like to do your job well. And that's going to inhibit you in your career really for the rest of your life, right? Because you think about if someone just sits next to someone and they're like,